Hey, Better Club, it is so good to see you guys here tonight for the replay of the Get Out of God's Way book club. Today, we're going to be talking all about things in chapter 6, which is titled Making Lemonade. And everything that we're going to talk about today has to do with the fact that we've been given these experiences, good and bad, and how we can really harness and leverage those experiences to essentially find our divine purpose and create our destiny as we're harnessing and leveraging the lessons and the things that we've been able to get through, overcome, learn in order for us to be the person that can help other people on this journey. And so that's what we're going to be chatting about today. It's so good to see you guys both here in person and online catching the replay. If you want a seat at this table, everybody is welcome. So we are going nice and slow, one chapter at a time. So I would absolutely love to welcome you inside of the live Zoom on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Central. But of course, so happy to see you guys catching the replay inside the Better Club at 7 p.m. Central right after that. So what we're going to do, you guys, is make sure that if you're catching this replay, I am in the chat. I am monitoring the discussion. I am here to have a conversation with you. So if you have thoughts, if you have questions, if you have insights that you want to share, and I will be conversing alongside of you, please do that. And those of you guys that are here live, it's always so fun to hear what your thoughts are, your questions are. This is an opportunity for you to contribute to the conversation, to ask questions to me, the author. You get to be coached if the opportunity presents itself. It's so much fun to see where this takes us. So welcome to chapter 6 of the Get Out of God's Way book club. All right, so Camille, good to see you, sister. Nice to see your face today for sure. And it's so great to see. So Heather and Camille both joined me in Costa Rica. We just got back like hours ago, really. And so we're probably still on this, like, kind of, at least I am, this euphoric like high still from that experience. And so I think it's going to be really fun to take that experience and bring that into the conversation that we're having today as well. So it's really fun. So I would love to start this out by asking you guys, like I do every single time, was there anything that you had highlighted, underlined, earmarked in chapter 6 that you really wanted to make sure that you remembered for yourself, something that stood out to you? Or was there something that you marked for a question? Like, hey, you know what? Like, can we talk about this? Because I'm stuck here. So I'd love to know if you guys had anything from chapter 6 that you wanted to acknowledge before we kind of move into the workbook. Okay, Heather, yes.
I'd love to say one of the things that I loved reading was where you said, this experience has afforded me deeper gratitude for the 2 children I have now and for building a business around a life that prioritizes them. It has created an empathetic spirit in me and allows me to share meaning and sadness. It built presence, resilience, trust, and humility, and I'm able to serve my clients better because of it. Like, to me, that was the whole chapter. It was everything, and it so spoke to me.
Tell me a little bit more about that. Tell me about what it spoke, like, tell me about how it spoke to you and what that means to you and all the things.
It's exactly how I'm building my business. My business is about coaching people and helping people get through whatever they've gone through in their life, feel it, but find the experience that you learned or whatever you learned from it to be able to take that forward in your life and change your life going forward. So that's what my business is going to be all about. And it just really spoke to me.
Yeah, I love that. And Heather and I were just talking briefly before, everybody else joined in that during the retreat, we all picked 3 bold moves that we were going to commit to this year. And mine includes speaking more. And so I have the privilege of working with the National Speakers Association, and we had a meeting last night, and I drove 2 hours to get to the meeting, even though I just got home from Costa Rica. So I've been running on fumes a little bit here, but it was interesting because I was listening to an audiobook on speaking on my way there. And then the speaker also both touched on this point of when you take somebody into your story, into your vulnerability, into your heartache in your speeches, it's really important that you bring them back up to a plane of good vibrations instead of keeping them down into the lower vibrations of guilt, shame, hopelessness, sadness, all of those things. You have to bring them back up. And I think one of the best ways as a speaker, as an author, as a person having a conversation with somebody where you're vulnerably, sharing your story, is to bring them back up. Don't let yourself stay down there, and talk about, like, how has this impacted you? What lesson have you gained from this? What has this been allowing you to do now because of it? Because that allows you to take yourself up to those higher levels of vibration of love, joy, peace, gratitude, all of the things that are in the higher frequencies, right? And so I think that vulnerability is so powerful, but it's also this beautiful dance between taking yourself there, but then bringing yourself back. And it's more than just a conversation or a speech. It's literally how we live our life. If we can take our life from being in those lower frequencies of sadness, hopelessness, despair, shame, guilt, all of those things, and you stay there for too long, guys, that's when we spiral down, right? But if we can find our way to get ourselves back up, to spiral up to those higher frequencies, that's going to allow for us to move on, to be able to start seeing these things as blessings, even though sometimes it's harder to do that. Don't you think? What are your thoughts on that, you guys?
So that, just as you talk now, just kind of reminded me of, I had shared too that I'm not a crier. I think that just like it became my thing. I'm not a crier. I'm not going to feel emotion because emotion is hard and I don't want to be vulnerable. And yet I have this yearning to be vulnerable and to just live fully. And so just now we were talking about that balance. I'm like, that's exactly where for so long those walls went up though. I'm not a crier. I'm not like they're no emotion because I can't be vulnerable. But I want to be vulnerable and I want to open my heart. So it's that roller coaster of finding the healthy balance.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think there's lots of reasons why we're afraid to be vulnerable. One of them being fear of judgment, right? Fear of the perception that, oh my gosh, like she's not perfect, and or they're going to reject me if they know the truth. The imposter syndrome can sneak in. And sometimes it's that we don't trust ourselves that we're going to be able to bounce out of it. Maybe that we are worried that once we allow ourselves to go there, we're going to stay there and not be able to climb ourselves back out. And so I love the fact that you were able to allow yourself to go there. You allowed yourself to trust yourself enough to say, hey, I'm going to let myself go there, but I'm not going to stay there. And now you've proven that to yourself. And the amazingness of your vulnerability showed through more and more throughout the time. And you were inspirational to all of us. So fun. Hey, Jan, it's good to see you.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I'm just backing out of Costco right now. And
I love it.
Saw the notice. So I thought, I'm going to just jump on.
I'm so glad that you did. I'm so glad that you're here. So we were just talking about chapter 6, which is entitled Making Lemonade. And it's all about taking the pain, the hardships that we've gone through, or it could be the good things too. It doesn't matter necessarily, but this is really just trying to allow ourselves to get unstuck. If you feel like the things that you've gone through in your life are keeping you down, how can you change your perspective in order to take it and make something good out of it? How do you make lemonade out of it? And the quote that I have at the beginning of the workbook here is, life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you if you're willing to see it. You guys agree with that? Or is that something that's hard for you? Yeah. And, I'm gonna pick on you because, you so vulnerably shared with us the hardship that you were going through when your mom became ill acutely. And, I just gotta say, like, throughout that whole process, you have been an inspiration to me of just how strong you are and how you emit joy in the middle of your sadness. And when people do that, you inspire all of us to overcome whatever it is that we are going through as well. So
thank you. Yeah. It was a hard time, but there was a lot of amazing things that happened also, you know, and just knowing that the only thing I can control is me and my thinking about it.
Mhm.
So that was, it really helped me get through all this, because I was just thinking of all the things in the last 2 months that have kind of come my way. And yesterday I was talking to my daughter and I said, you know what? I'm okay. And that, just knowing that, yeah, I'm still okay, even with all these things that have gone on. Because, you know, one other thing that happened, and I don't know if you're aware of it, this cat I had just gotten had passed away just out of the blue for no reason. We don't know what she died from. She was only 6 years old. She was an amazing cat, and I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck, you know? But yeah, that was just one more thing, you know. And then my husband's been ill, and I was just like, okay, so this is kind of happening for me. So I'm like, how is this going to help me, you know? And I'm okay. I know that, you know, because it's called life, and I'm living it.
Yeah.
Whatever comes my way. So I just, I can still find joy and happiness in so many other things, you know. Like I got to go to my grandson's football game, and he did a great job, and get to see my granddaughter coming up. So it's those things that, you know, yeah, if that makes any difference, I don't know, but
Yeah.
you know, what else can you do? You can just hope and be sad, and I am, but I also am seeing the other side of it, you know. Yeah, I miss my mom, but I'm seeing how my dad, all of a sudden, I don't know if you can hear me yet, I'm hearing something down here,
Yeah.
but my dad, all of a sudden, becoming this big, much stronger guy, and my mom was taking care of him, and all of a sudden, it's like he's putting on his big boy boots and pants and going, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And I was like, wow, Dad. It's amazing what's coming from it, you know. And all the people that came to the funeral, wonderful, beautiful. And we just had a wonderful celebration of life for my mom. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm just going to look at it that way.
That's absolutely beautiful. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that, like I said, I think the last time you were in book club, you were asking for prayers, and
Yeah,
you know,
I felt so.
you just you've been in my mind and my heart, and I do love watching you just take things and turn them into beautiful things. So thank you for modeling that for us.
Yeah, and thank you for acknowledging that, because, you know, it was hard. There were the ups and the downs, and I appreciate you noticing, because, you know, it is kind of what it is, but also it can be better, and it is.
Yeah.
I'm in a much better place than I was a month ago. So that's always good too. I think I'm stronger for it, and I've learned a lot from it. The other piece I'm learning from all this is all those shoulds. I've gotten rid of them. I'm shaking those off, because the shoulds wear me down. And
I think you're cutting out a little bit. I think you're cutting out a little bit. Sorry, we didn't catch all of that, but perhaps.
Okay, that's fine. I'll stop.
We can try again. Yeah. So yeah, and I think, like, you know, big picture guys on this chapter is, I'm going to bring it back to, if you recall, the book is kind of set up in 3 main sections. It's desire, decide, do. It's really helping us gain clarity, confidence, and the consistency to be successful. And so this falls in that clarity part. And I think that some of us might be in the process of discovering, like, what is our purpose? What is our destiny? Some of us might be seeking clarity around a confirmation of who we are and what choices we've made, and that we're on the right path. Some of us are in a moment of pivoting, of really taking that next step and that next level, and discovering how that's supposed to look. And I think any of those things can be what's the word I'm looking for? Aided by this looking at the things that we've gone through and really figuring out how we can use them for the greatest good, right? And the second thing that I want to mention around this is the big picture, is the fact that in my study of success, of happiness, of the life that we want to live, the one thing that I notice over and over and over again is that successful people, happy people, content people choose to rise above their circumstances. They do not let themselves stay victims to their circumstances. We are not responsible for what happens to us, but we are responsible for what we do with it. Right? And so the more that we stay in that victim space, the more that we feel powerless to our circumstances, the more we feel stuck. But the moment that we decide that we are not going to allow this to be a victor over us, the moment that we decide that we're going to look for different ways to adjust our attitude and our actions to rise above, is the moment that we get our power back. It's the moment that I stand a little taller. It's the moment that I start to see hope for the future. It's the moment that I start to acknowledge that I am first cause and that my life is a reflection of my choices, and I get to choose right now to do something with it instead of letting it define me or letting it beat me. Right? And over again, I recognize that whether it's business or whether it's just being a good human, good friend, when we can leverage the fact that we've gone through something, most likely, especially in business, our ideal client is us 2 years ago or 2 steps ago. So when people are struggling with that clarity piece, I would like to ask them, what is something that you have had to overcome that has made a huge difference in the trajectory of who you are now? Who were you seeking to help you get through that? Or who did you wish you had? And how can you be that for someone else? I've had people in network marketing who discovered that, wow, yeah, my infertility journey is really a great platform to be able to share my non-toxic skincare, let's just say. Or, domestic abuse has been a platform for trauma healing. Or even one of my clients is a betrayal trauma specialist who specializes in Christian women who's had a divorce due to infidelity. And she really helps those women get through that betrayal trauma, when sometimes, the church just tells you you're supposed to forgive, and it's not always that easy. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into that, right? And so I love the fact that they're taking what they've gone through, what they wish they had, and are helping other people to step into that space with more support, maybe getting through it a little bit faster, maybe getting through it a little healthier. My sister is a great example. She runs a sober living facility. What's interesting is that 6 years ago, she was a resident at that same sober living facility. That was a tough time in our family's life, and now she's a freaking director of it. She runs that whole show. So freaking cool, right? And we look at all the things that we went through as a family and watching her during that addiction cycle. It was hard, you guys. It was really, really hard. I actually interviewed her on my podcast, one of my first podcasts. So if you're interested in her story, check that out. But the fact is that experience led her to the Lord. Like, that experience is what brought her to her faith journey. That experience is what helped her to recognize her wholeness. That experience is what is allowing her to help people that don't have those things. And if it wasn't for that, she wouldn't be doing what she's doing. So one of the questions, and do you have any thoughts on that? Any insights, any stories that you want to share around that same space before I kind of go into one of the questions in the workbook? I don't want to be all the one that's talking all the time. So if you don't, that's fine. I just want to make sure that you have a chance.
What's that?
What was that, Jan? Were you saying something?
I don't think I didn't say anything. No,
okay, sorry.
But
okay.
You kind of heard my story to a certain degree. So, something I overcame, but there's many of those in everybody's life, I believe. It's just, you know, knowing that you're going through it, and this too shall pass.
Yeah. And you know that, and Heather, I'm just a second, but like you all know those people that haven't let that go, right? That stay in that stuck space, that allow themselves to stay victim to that. And how many of you would love to hang out with those people? Let's just be real, right? And so like, it's just so refreshing to be around people who are willing to look at it in that different perspective. Heather, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I have one of those in my life, and oh boy, it's very hard to be around her. But yeah, I mean, I've overcome, abuse, and I would say I've overcome. I'm still dealing with the side effects from that, but I'm every day feeling stronger and better beyond that. And I say, when I look back, would I change it? Well, yeah, I'd love to have had a dad. And I would love to have had some better experiences, but it's made me who I am, and I'm definitely stronger because of it. And I definitely know what I want and don't want out of life because of it. And then I very much relate to Jan. Everything you were saying, Jan, about your mom and everything. My mom went through an illness for years, and I was her caretaker. And yes, it was very sad, and it was hard to watch, and it was hard to experience, and hated that my boys had to see her failing. But I will say I learned so much about the world, about life, about who I want to be. And what really struck me as you were talking is, you're living. So yes, you're sad, but you also have those moments of like, you still have other things in your life at the same time. So you look and you say, my family is beautiful. I'm losing my mom, yes, and it's sad, but also I'm teaching them things through it. And I still have that joy of them, and I still have the joy of friendships and other things. And, it's awful, but it's part of the life cycle. So you have the understanding of that, but you also, you have the sadness, but you have the light and the brilliance and the things that you learn that help you live your own life better and help you help others live your life better.
Yeah, that's so beautifully said.
Thank you. Exactly.
Absolutely. So when I will look at the workbook, we've already kind of talked about this, but I'm going to just, for thoroughness, going to just ask the questions like, where have you been stuck? What have you had to overcome? And how could your journey offer hope and solutions for others who are where you've been? And I know that we've already kind of talked about that a little bit, but I wanted to know if anybody else had anything to add to that.
I just want to say one last thing, health problems. I've had them. I'm going through my own, but what's amazing is your body's ability to heal and be able to move forward. And that's a huge lesson to me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this isn't in the workbook, but I'm just going to ask you guys, like, even just bringing this up, has it helped you to identify a place in your life that perhaps you haven't acknowledged that, you know what, I have been letting this label, this relationship that went awry, this health situation, this thing keep me stuck, even though maybe you didn't even realize it. It's just the talk about this kind of bringing it to light and thinking, you know what? I have been allowing myself to be addicted to that. Yeah. Cool. And if you want to share, but if not, like, I totally get it. But I think that's kind of fun when we can start to acknowledge some of that. Right. We did a lot of work at the retreat around forgiveness. What was that?
Could you repeat that? I missed it because I kind of something happened, didn't hear it. So
yeah, absolutely. So I just asked if just having this discussion has allowed for you to have some realization around something that you have been feeling stuck in, or allowing yourself to be remaining a victim of without even realizing it. So just like thinking about this, has it brought some things to light that you're like, I'm ready to let that go?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. I think a lot of the things that do happen for us in our life, it's recognizing it and seeing what, even though it seems hard, what's the good that comes from it? Because there's always two sides to everything. And I think you're right. The stuckness for me too was, you know, being hung up on the shoulds, like I just was saying. And I just had to let that go. It was just putting me in a really low place. And I don't like sitting there. I don't want to be that victim. And this really showed me I don't have to be, you know, because that's not a place I want to sit. That's about as low a vibration as you can go. And
shoot, I want to hear what she had to say. She's gone. We'll get it back. We'll remind her, low vibration.
I think she was spot on when she just said the low vibrations, though. It's like you get down there and it's really hard to step out.
100%. And I just redid my graphic, but I'm going to show you guys this one that I keep at my desk because this is the emotional vibrational scale. And, you know, we talked a lot about this at the retreat too, but the things that are at the top, like love, joy, freedom, excitement, they can resonate about 700 or more hertz. So the frequency, the vibration of those emotions, and our body literally responds by our electrons rotating faster when we're in those emotions. But down here in despair, disempowerment, grief, depression, and hopelessness, it can go as low as 20. So our electrons are rotating really slow. And it's really when we're in that space that we feel like the world has beat us up. And when we leverage this, when we leverage the emotional vibrational scale, it helps us to know what direction we want to go. And as long as I know that I'm down here in disempowerment, if I can at least get myself up a rung or two of the ladder, it's going to at least help me to shift my energy at least up a few hertz. So even something like anger is going to be higher vibration than disempowerment. And so oftentimes we think like, oh, I shouldn't be angry about that. Well, how about you do? How about you get angry around the fact that I have let myself shit all over myself? So did you see how there's a difference in that versus like, oh, I just should do this? I even like my body language changes, my voice changes because the vibration's lower. But if I can at least get angry about it, it's going to move me up the scale. If I can get to a place of just being disappointed, that also is higher than anger. So getting myself like looking at an emotion, and I can try to have a thought that's going to help me create that emotion. You can stair step your way up it if you need to. Okay. But for me, one of the most powerful ways that I love to get myself out of those low vibrations is to utilize gratitude, because appreciation and gratitude are at the very top. And being anxious and grateful cannot coexist at the same time. So if I can think of, and my kids do this all the time, like we'll sit at the dinner table and they're having a bad day. I'm like, okay, so let them process it, let them tell me about it. And then when they're done and they've allowed themselves that permission to feel that, then we're like, okay, give me 3 of your favorite things from today. Like, what are 3 things you're grateful for? And it's crazy how the energy shifts like that. Okay. So utilizing that. Jan, I don't know if you can hear us, but you were talking about vibration and how you don't want to be in that frequency, and then we lost you. So that's how we got on this this topic.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I could help there.
But you were saying something and we just didn't want to miss it. So do you remember what you were saying?
No, I don't recall.
That's okay. If you can think of it though, you were talking about, you know, the shoulds and how you're like, I don't want to stay there. Like, I don't want to stay in this vibration of this anymore. And you know.
And I do think, you know, the biggest thing there is recognizing it, knowing, you know, if having that awareness, because even though I had it before, I didn't always realize I was in it. And now I'm like, oh, okay. I'm catching myself before I slip down there. And that's really helped me through what I've been through, because I was like, whoa, how's this all happening? And at first I was like, happening to me. And I went, whoa, whoa, whoa. Nope, that to me was right there, the victim role. So I caught myself.
And so, and
Big time.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. So instead of to me, it's what?
For me or through me, that kind of thinking, you know. So yeah, it made all the difference, just changing how I thought about it, you know, and even helping, you know, the rest of my family through it, you know, just, and we just all realize, you know, well, life goes on, and you have to keep that in mind. Just, you get to decide how you think about things. Yeah. And I had to make a decision. Even when I knew I was slipping from time to time, I just had to make that decision. So yeah, and I got rid of, you know, the shoulds. Oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And it was just bogging me down because I didn't always follow through with it. And I dumped too much on myself. So
absolutely,
I'm letting that go.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, Camille, what were you gonna say?
So my oldest, who's a sophomore in college, gave me a call yesterday, and he had talked to his soccer coach about coming home this weekend. A couple of years ago, he's got two teammates from high school where their mom was killed in a car accident. And so the last couple of years, we've had the Robin Rally, where there's a 20-mile bike ride, and there's just activities all day, and the money is raised to always support another family in town, because she was very giving. And so it's obviously been very near and dear to his heart. So he went to his coach and said, hey, I'd like to be gone on Saturday. I will miss practice. And his coach just looked at him and said, well, it may affect your playing time on Monday. And he called me. He was so upset. He's like, I just can't believe he would do that to me. And it was the to me kind of thing where I completely understood his frustration. And his vibrations were very low at the time, you could tell. And I just said, hey, there is no wrong answer. You come home and you are with Jonas and Miles, and you are there for them. You stay at school and you are there for your team. And there's no wrong answer. What you need to do is pray. And he was like, thank you, I love you. And like, you could just see the whole, like, knowing there was no wrong answer, and really all I had to do was pray about it. So he called today, or he sent a text, and you could just tell completely different. He said, they had a game last night. He played 45 minutes in the game. He was very happy, and he had an assist. And he said, I'm going to stay for practice, but I will be home right after. So I will miss the 20-mile bike ride, but I will be there for the dinner and the auction and everything else. And I said, okay, I'll give one of your brothers, can take your place in the bike ride or whatever. And he was like, awesome. But it was just where he was yesterday, because the coach had done this to him, kind of perception of no, but like Jan said, it's just a decision has to be made. And in this case, there really wasn't. Like, I understood his longing and wanting, and then his feeling like he had to be there too. And I just, proud of you. You made a good decision. Like, I didn't say it was the right decision. I didn't say it was like, you made a,
yeah,
good decision.
That's
so you could just see the vibrations change, because he no longer had that I should have. He had made a decision and was comfortable with it.
And I think that oftentimes we can feel helpless when we feel like we have an either or, and you helped him see that there was possible, perhaps he didn't even realize it and you didn't say it, but you allowed him to be creative enough to figure out an and that's really cool too. So when we can do that, and I just think that it's just so powerful. So thank you for sharing that story. It's awesome. And, just to kind of like, kind of keep going and wrapping this up at the same time. So when I think about my own business, you guys likely know that I focus on these 3 pillars, just like the book: the desire, decide, and do. And the consistency piece and the confidence piece are huge because I recognized a few years into my business that my lack of confidence was completely holding me back. My fear of getting into DMs, my fear of going on social media, my fear of talking about my business, my fear of inconveniencing somebody or letting somebody down was holding me back. And I also recognized that time management and productivity was holding me back. I was trying to juggle my family, my full-time career, my growing business, and I needed to get my shit together. And I felt like I was completely victim to everything. And I was resentful of my job and all that stuff, right? And so you can feel stuck. But then it's like, once I was able to recognize, like, okay, these are two linchpins that I have. And once I can get the ball moving on these two, everything's going to change. And they did. And now guess what? I get to use those struggles, that insight, what I had to learn to become an expert in both of those places to now help other people. And so again, it's just going back to like, how can you leverage all of this stuff, both in personal life as being a mom, both as being in grief, both as, you know, building your business. The more that we can take ourselves out of the victim, the more that we can just embrace that, the better that we're going to be able to serve. And I pulled up this verse that I don't think I put this in the book, and I should have, but this really came to me. It's Romans 5:3-4. But only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Right? Mm-hmm. Suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And so I think that I wouldn't be the person I am if I hadn't had to figure out how to juggle that stuff. I wouldn't be the person that I am if I hadn't been so low in my confidence that I had to work my way out of that. And now it's like, there's no stopping what I'm capable of, because I've learned how to do it. You know what I'm saying? So just recognizing that and using it to our advantage instead of being a victim to it, I think is so freaking powerful. Because we're always going to have things that are going to happen. There's going to be trials and tribulations. It's when we've made that decision that we are not going to allow ourselves to be victim to it. And we're going to figure out how to leverage it for the greatest good, the greatest impact, whether it be in our life or our business. Like, the enemy is not going to win, right? We got this. And the second part of this workbook in this chapter was to allow for us to also leverage things that we maybe don't even think about as being things that we can use. So one of the things that I asked is the classes that you've taken, the jobs that you've held, the people you've met, the skills that you've acquired are all ingredients. They add to a unique flavor to you and how you can serve. Make a list of all of your experiences that you can use to help someone else below. Now, there might be random things, a random part-time job that you had once upon a time, maybe gave you the skills that allow for you to do X. That's different than any other photographer in town, or any other realtor in town, or any other coach on the internet, right? So one of the things that I would love for you guys to do is to share with me, like, what are some of the things that you can recognize to say, like, I mean, and Heather, I'm gonna pick on you for a second, if that's okay. But one of the first things that Heather and I did when we were working together in one of our client one-on-ones is I had you tell me about all of the certifications that you had and all of the courses that you've taken, because I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you were feeling maybe ill-equipped. Mm-hmm. And like, oh, I don't know if I really have anything to offer. And you started listing all this stuff out. And I was like, girlfriend. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, so, I did the whole going through school, getting my bachelor's degree, working full time after, and 9 years after working, I got pregnant and we decided I'd be a stay-at-home mom. So I've been a stay-at-home mom for 21 years this year. And I have a 21-year-old, a 17-year-old, and I have, dabbled in things here and there, but haven't had a full-time permanent or even a part-time permanent job for a long, long time. And I was like, okay, well, I can go back and try to get an office job, but are my skills in terms of whatever up to date? Do I have enough? Do I have anything to offer? What am I going to make? You know, what am I going to be making? Minimum wage? It's not worth it. But what can I do? I have nothing. And then I started to realize through the fact that I do have a bachelor's degree, I have skills that, though they may not be computer skills, I learned skills working full time. I learned skills being a mom. I learned skills volunteering. I learned skills taking care of my mom for years and years. And then I started taking all these courses, and I do have a lot to offer that I really put down because I thought, well, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. Now, I don't think that being a mom is nothing. It's a lot. And anybody who's a mom, you know that. But, you know, it's like you have to look at it in terms of what you did learn. Like, I know management skills. I know how to advocate for somebody, you know, different things like that. I know that dealing with two different personalities that were raised exactly the same way are completely different at how to approach people and how to communicate. So I learned a lot of skills, and the more I learned about that and worked with Lachelle on things like that, the more I'm like, heck yeah, I have a lot to offer.
Absolutely. And, you know, Camille, I'm going to pick on you next because, you know, Camille was a teacher for a long time, and she became a realtor 2 years ago, but she uses skills that she had as a teacher to become, in my opinion, a standout realtor. Like, the things that you do make your clients have an extra special experience, like the tubs that you were telling us about. So tell us a little bit about that.
After 23 years in the classroom and working with kids, primarily third graders and fifth graders, you know, I think part of what lends for real estate is I'm a natural teacher and explaining all the process. But one of the things I do when I have a family who's going to be listing their home, I go to Costco or wherever and get the gigantic tubs for each of the kids. So I take them to the house and we sit down and we have a little chat about how they're going to put all their stuff in. It's going to be kept safe, and then it will be packed up and ready for their new house. But in order to make this move happen, and usually they're super excited about their new house, is their deal is they got to pack up their things that they're going to put away for now, and they have to make their bed every day and keep their room clean. And, you know, the prize at the end, of course, is this brand new house that they're getting to move into. But the kids need a buy-in, you know, otherwise. And I know as a teacher and as a mom, it's easier for them to hear from somebody else than their own parents sometimes. So I get them to work with me, so that makes it easier, hopefully, mom and dad, to say, hey, you told Camille you were going to do this. So.
Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes people can go into a new career and be like, well, I've only been doing this for 2 years. I haven't been doing this for 20 years. And we allow ourselves to get trapped in this comparison. And really what we're failing to do is consider all of the things that make us stand out and special because of where we've come from. And just like our private chef, his name was Luco in Costa Rica, and he would make us the most amazing fresh juices every single day. And I think about this like that. It's like, you bring in the ingredients of your lemonade that nobody else does. That's the little splash of lavender in the lemonade to make it special, right? And so just don't forget about those things that sometimes can make you feel like you're not enough, are actually the things that make you amazing. Jan, you, in your experience as a teacher and your grandson, have been huge when it comes to the things that you do in your career.
It really, really has. And I think personally too, it also made me a better teacher at the time, and a better, I don't know, parent maybe, but grandparent perhaps. I just kind of saw the world through whole different eyes, and I did a lot of research and studying to help my grandson, because he was in a really rough place and we really struggled. And I just, I'm so grateful I have those skills. And also my daughter, who's went through it right along with me. But I made a difference in the kids' lives in my classroom, who struggled similarly to what my grandson did. And that was huge to me, to see a smile on a child's face who was not in a good place, and that I could make that difference. And then also, you know, seeing where my grandson is today with his life and how he's doing. And now that we also get to help other parents because of some more, you know, both my daughter and I have taken classes and courses to help us be parent coaches. And it's been a really interesting journey, but I'm amazed how many people out there need this.
Absolutely.
Because what I remember is, you know, when we were looking for help for my grandson, it was always 6 to 8 weeks out. And we're like, we need the help right now. What can we do? And now, so that's when I really started buckling down. I'm like, there's got to be a way that this works. And we found something, and oh my gosh, it was a game changer. And I want this for all the teachers in the world, in all the classes, you know, for teachers as they're studying. I think if they knew this, it would make classroom management and, you know, I don't always like to use the word discipline, but if you want to put that word out there, how that can help other kids, help these kids and the teachers to help understand those kids who have these challenging behaviors. And most of it, the other piece is, you know, realizing kids do well when they can, if they can. And if they're not, then what's the reason? We don't always buckle down and try to find that. We just try to take care of the problem, and they see the kid as the problem and not that the child's having a problem. And that's huge to me. And that, you know, if you can change your thinking about that, I would love to see that, you know, even with therapists and anybody who works with children, it would make a huge difference in a child's life.
And this is what I'm saying, right? Like, you know, we could certainly, as a parent, decide to go to a therapist who's gotten her degree in psychology and all the things, or I could go to Jane, who's a life coach who has years of teaching and her own personal experience with her grandson who was troubled and has been there and done that. Like, that's gold right there. And so oftentimes we talk down to ourselves. I don't have that degree. I haven't been in business as long as she has. I don't have what she has. I don't have what it takes. And that's bull. I'm going to call you out on it right now. Life has happened for you. You have all of the ingredients to make the most amazing lemonade already. Everything has been designed for you in order for you to help the next person who needs it. And sometimes we don't always see it. But maybe everything was meant for the person right behind you, right? And so there's so much beauty in that. Laura, do you have anything to add to any of our conversations? I just want to make sure I'm including you and not leaving you out. So, and it's totally fine if you don't, but you good? Okay, Christina, do you have anything to add?
No, it's been good.
Okay. Thanks for showing up today. I love seeing your beautiful name in there. Well, I'll have to connect soon. Okay. So I mean, this chapter was not really meaty as far as, like, you know, pages and pages in the workbook, but I think it's important for us to really to hone in on this whole philosophy of life happens for us, not to us. And how do we leverage? I have worked with so many clients who get caught into the comparison trap. And I'm going to be doing a podcast episode on comparison shortly, because so oftentimes we do allow ourselves to just think that we're just one of hundreds of people who just do what we do. So why would anybody want to work with us? And we don't give ourselves any credit for all of the beautiful pieces that have come together to get you to where you're at. Oftentimes we put ourselves down, we discredit ourselves. And the fact that you've gotten through something, the fact that you've survived it, the fact that you've figured out what's worked and what hasn't, like, you have the gift to condense time for someone else. Your lessons that you've had to learn the hard way can help somebody else not have to stumble quite as hard. Your perspective is valuable. Your pieces of your puzzle are going to bless somebody. So start to look for them, start to pay attention to them, recognize all of the little pieces, you know, the things that, you didn't even see as a gift. You didn't even see as a positive thing. Maybe it was something that people made fun of you about. Like they used to, tease me in anesthesia school that I studied too much. They did. Like, so I stopped being truthful on my study log because people would make fun of me how much I was studying. But the way that I looked at it is that my patients deserved to have the very, very best of me. And so that was what I was willing to do. So I brought that, even though I had to like hide that part of myself in a season, I feel like it's what makes me who I am when I serve my clients. And so just look at all the pieces that you have, the things that you've been through, the random jobs, the random skills that you have. You never know if that's going to be the thing that really helps you stand out and sets you apart. Last night, as I mentioned, I went to, it was this National Speakers Association meeting, and there were people from all over the state of Minnesota and Wisconsin. And these are like super successful people. Like, I mean, they've been on TV, like very successful people. And all of them felt insecure because as they went around and introduced themselves, they were comparing themselves to each other. It doesn't matter what level you're at in this journey. We all do it. As we spiral up, you're going to bump up against it again. It's just a matter of what tools you have in your tool belt now that you didn't have back then. How fast can you recognize it and how fast can you pivot? We're not going to necessarily always outgrow it, but we can handle it much more healthy ways and faster, and prove to ourselves that we're capable of doing a heck of a job. So don't forget that you guys are all amazing. Any last thoughts on this chapter?
I just want to say, when you were talking about your journey, I actually got to witness most of that. And it was just so interesting to see each step and how you kept growing. And I knew when you finally were able to not have to be at the Mayo Clinic anymore, I could just see such a light in your eyes. And I knew you were in a great place. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Mayo. I think that it served you really well. But just to see how far you've come, Lachelle, has been just a gift for me. And I've learned a lot from you, as a result. And you're the same age as my son. I mean, but I just never think about the age thing, even though I just brought it up. It doesn't matter. We're all just human beings with a lot of light and power within us that, it depends on how you use it. And I've loved watching you use yours and all the discoveries that you've come through. It's amazing.
Well, I couldn't have gotten through it.
Thank you.
So,
yeah,
yeah, my best days and my worst days. The last.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's been fun watching you, and I'm still impressed with your book. I'm just like, oh my God, you just nailed that book so beautifully. I loved reading it.
Thank you.
And it's, I had a friend, Pagal, who I train with for working out. Yeah. She posted that on her site. And I don't know if you saw that or if I told you. She goes, "You got to read this book. It's amazing." I just wanted to tell you that she was putting that out there. And she has a lot of people that she works with, when we're working out. And she's also kind of a mindset coach. So she said that book really helped her. So I just wanted to let you know that you are making a big difference.
God is so good, isn't he? Man. And
absolutely.
I tried to be obedient and stay out of his way. And so you guys, if you're feeling something, I've felt it too, let me tell you. But I think that the difference is just making that decision, like you said, Jan, of just going forward anyway. Funny story. When we were in Costa Rica, the first morning I got up and I wanted to go and see the sunset on the beach. And I'm like, I'm here. I want to witness every second of it. Last year, Christine and I, we can both say that we both went out and watched the sunrise. Sorry, it was sunrise that I wanted to see, the sunrise on the beach. And so I wake up at 5 a.m. I get out to this gate. So it was a gated villa that the security people that watched the property would close the gate at 6 o'clock at night so that nobody would come in, and we felt really safe. Well, so I get out there And I realized that I don't have a key for the padlock, that it was with my assistant, Jamie. And I texted her just the chance she was awake, but probably wasn't. And like, hey, by chance, do you happen to have the key? And waited a couple of minutes and I didn't hear from her, which I didn't think I would. And so I looked for a hole in the barbed wire fence and I crawled through because I wanted to see that sunrise.
I love it.
And I think that, I mean, honestly, you guys, if you want something badly enough, you'll figure it out. Right? Heather, do you have something to say?
I just want to say that you said, well, this wasn't a big chapter in the workbook, but it's an important message. I actually find this to be one of the most important messages. And my mind just keeps blowing during this conversation, hearing different things that people say and making me think of other things. And I just like, this can help people from who are just in a tight spot and just can't figure something out, all the way to people who are having suicidal ideation, honestly. Like there's, and everywhere in between. It's just, look at what you've overcome, you can do it again. And then learn from that. And I love what Jan said too, about starting to go down and you start to recognize little, and I've had the same thing where I may have gone down and then I learned something from it and I recognize it the next time it starts to happen. And it brings me up every single time because I start to see, oh yeah, this is starting to happen. This is what happened before. Now I know what to do.
Amen. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Thank you guys for blessing me today. I absolutely am so honored and grateful that you take time out of your busy schedule to meet with me. We are going to meet right back here next week at 2 p.m. Central on live Zoom. So anybody who's catching the replay, I would love to have you here. Reach out to me if you need the Zoom link. And then of course, watching this on replay, just know that I'm right in the chat with you, following all of the comments and answering the questions so that I can make sure I'm serving everybody in all of the capacities. So good to see you. I believe next week is chapter 7. So we will just go ahead and dive into that. So, all right, you guys, thanks so much for showing up. Bye.